Hello everyone, this is Nicolette, Creative Clipper with Canva, and today I'm talking to Tamsin Horton, and Tamsin is going to share with us a few tips on how to be legal with Canva and all the designs that we're creating inside of Canva. So Canva, I feel like everyone on my list already knows you, but for the people who don't, can you give us a really quick introduction about who you are and what you do?
So I tell people that I help you create time and ideas and keep everything safe. I actually became a lawyer as my third career when I got sick of dealing with lawyers in the corporate business world of trademark licensing. So I have a unique perspective of coming into the law from the business standpoint, and I'm very, very good at teaching it and taking all these crazy complex things and putting them back into the simple stuff that they are. So I love being able to do stuff like this.
Yes, and you're really good. You're super smart at it as well. I love how you always break things down so easily. You're like the mind map queen. So, what is the first thing that you would tell us about being safe designing in Canva?
The first thing I'd tell you, not just with designing in Canva, but in anything you're doing in your business, is every single business decision has a legal impact. Doesn't matter what you're doing, every single thing you do, know there's a legal component to it. And when you're designing in Canva, I think the biggest thing to understand is you're using a platform to help you design. They want to help you design. They want your stuff to look really, really good. You just have to, as I would tell Kip, if we're going to go play at a friend's house and he brings his toys and his friend has his toys, at the end of the day, we need to make sure people are going home with the right toys. So you're coming into Canva bringing what you want to make and what you want to do, and they're kind of also giving you toys. But at the end of the day, just because you played with their toys doesn't mean you get to take them home with you. Like, you don't get to own their stuff. So I think that's the biggest piece inside Canva, is knowing you're coming in, you're playing with their stuff. They want you to play with it, but you also have to understand there's certain things they own. And so you can't say, oh, well, this is mine and now I'm going to go sell it to the world. That's not going to go over very well.
That's a really good way to look at it, because you do come in with your own images and patterns and fonts, and so it's hard at the end of the day to know what is safe for me to use.
Yes.
So one of the biggest questions that I get, and that there seems to be confusion around, is, can I create my logo in Canva?
This is such a good question. Yes and no. And here's how I will explain it. Okay. When you're designing a logo, okay, your logo is, you're using it to identify your brand. That triggers trademark law. And because the purpose of the trademark is to identify and distinguish your brand from other people, when you register a trademark, you basically want the ability to say, nobody else can have this look. So the Nike swoosh, perfect example. I can't use the Nike swoosh on my products. They own the look of that design. So let's say I go into Canva, and I've done this with Bizzlebox so many times over the last 6 months. Like, I've changed that logo a zillion times.
Yes, as I have too.
Yeah, like, I keep changing it. Now, and I use Canva. I've used Canva to design every single piece of Bizzlebox. And so I make it and I use it on my website. And I make different logos and I use them on products. Well, the difference is I'm not legally registering that design with the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
Okay.
It's a logo in that I'm using it from a design standpoint. It's not a logo because I'm not enforcing any of my rights in the design against someone else. So, and the reason you can't make a logo that you register as your trademark inside Canva is you don't own what you use to create it. Just like Kip brings his toys over, he's playing with his friend Luke. Luke owns the truck. Well, Kip says, ooh, I want to do the truck and then put something else in the back of the truck.
Now it's mine.
Well, the truck is still Luke's.
Yes.
Kip doesn't own it.
Okay.
If I make a logo inside Canva, and let's say I use, it works the same with fonts and design, but we're going to stay focused on the design part. So let's say I use a lunchbox graphic for Bizzlebox.
Right.
Because I call it the legal lunchbox that protects your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they have an icon. It looks like a briefcase. I use it. I make it, I design the Bizzlebox logo. Then I say, ooh, this is my logo. I'm going to now register it. I'm going to get legal protection for my logo.
Okay.
I can't because I don't own the briefcase icon.
Okay.
So if you're going into Canva and you are making your Nike swoosh, you are going to make something, you're going to consistently use it, meaning you're not changing it. That swoosh does not change. Under Armour's does not change. The Ralph Lauren Polo Guy does not change.
Kate Spade doesn't change.
Right, like that stuff is not changing. And you want to prevent people from being able to use your design. Nike wants to stop me from using the swoosh. Under Armour wants to stop me from using the U and the A. If you're doing that, don't you dare make it in Canva.
So what if you got your lunchbox from Creative Market and import that into Canva? Are you then allowed to use that if you're going to trademark it? But you're saying that most people won't go out and trademark a course name.
They won't trademark. Very few people have what's called a stylized mark for trademarking, which is what a logo falls under.
Okay.
Very, very few people do because it takes, you either have it before you ever launch and okay, this is our mark, because the logo stands in place of the words. Okay. So your words, those you can trademark, but you're not trademarking the font. We'll talk about Coca-Cola in a minute. If you're buying elements from other places, you have to read their terms and conditions. Canva's only concerned with theirs. They say if you bring in content, it's called user content. When you bring your stuff in and you, again, play on their playground to make it look pretty, one of the things that you say when you bring your toys in, you brought a font over here, you bought a design from over here, like you bought all these other pieces, but now you want to bring them into Canva and make it all look pretty and work together. Wherever you got that stuff from, you must go read their terms and conditions, which I'm fairly certain they will all have similar requirements that Canva does, because they give us use permission. They don't give us ownership permission. If I'm making my Nike swoosh and I want to stop other people from making my Nike swoosh, I'm either hiring a designer, I'm in Photoshop, like I'm using a design platform where my ideas are my ideas. But if I'm using ingredients from someone else, I have to make sure they have relinquished ownership, which again, very few of these sites ever give you ownership. They just give you use rights because they're selling it to another 1,000 people. So they can't give you ownership rights. Okay. That's probably an easier way to think about it.
Right. So I guess the safe thing, so two things is that your logo, maybe for your business, it makes sense to outsource that to a designer that can make something unique to you. And then use Canva maybe for course logos. That's mostly words, fonts, not so much like graphics and stuff. Is that right?
Well, no, you can use it. But what you want to be careful when you're designing your logo, if you're going to change the color, if you're going to change the font size, if you're going to change the font look, if you're going to change any of those design elements, you're not really making a logo.
Okay.
A logo is a swoosh.
Okay.
Never changes, pour it into concrete. You're literally building your business around that picture.
Okay.
That's probably an easier way to think about it. So that's why I always use the example of the swoosh. Like the swoosh has not changed in however many years since the swoosh has been in existence.
No.
Your logo is something that literally gets poured into concrete, where it stands in, when people see it, when I see the swoosh, I know it's Nike. When I see the polo guy, I know it's Polo. When I see the little whale, I know it's Vineyard Vines. That's why you can use Canva to create the, I wish they wouldn't use the word logo because it gets really confusing.
Yeah, it does.
You can use it to create anything you're designing for the look of your business that is not poured into concrete. If it's poured into concrete, meaning you are not changing the font, the color, the size, the look, if you've poured it into concrete, like a swoosh, don't make it in Canva. Anything else really isn't a logo.
Okay.
Even though you call it a logo and you use it like a logo, it's not a logo.
Okay. That makes things a whole lot easier. And then in terms of, okay, so maybe I have a logo that's not a logo that says Nicolette Styles.
Yes.
What is the difference between importing a font, maybe I got it for free or I paid for it on Creative Market, or using a font that's already in Canva? They're
going to have similar requirements.
Okay.
Again, you've got to read the terms of use of Creative Market. But when you're buying something that can be sold to anybody else, you're getting use rights, not ownership rights. Meaning you can't legally protect it. You can't see someone else. Like let's say I wanted to make Tamsin Horton exactly like you've done, the color, the font, and I want to put it on my website. Okay. Besides being irritated with me, you couldn't stop me. Like you couldn't be like, well, Tamsin, that's mine. No, it's not. I bought it from wherever you bought it from.
Right.
So when you're using the fonts in Canva, whether it's Canva's fonts or you bought it somewhere else and you're bringing it in, if the font is like a Coca-Cola font, so we know Coke with the big swirly, Coke has the name protected. It also has that design, that script. I can't make a Coke product and then use the script and make it look like Coca-Cola. That font. So think Gap. Gap always looks the same font, the same color. Pottery Barn, Abercrombie and Fitch. Those are, if I'm using my font and the font is poured into concrete, meaning I'm never changing it, I'm purposely wanting people to see the style, just like Coca-Cola does with their script. We see the script, we know it's Coke. If you're doing that with your font, you can't legally enforce that if you've made it in Canva. And again, even if you bought it on Creative Market, which is why I say really very, very, very few people have a logo. because none of us are pouring this stuff into concrete. None of us.
Right.
Everybody changes it. It's like, oh, I want to redo my website. And they change it. Well, the minute you change it, you didn't have a logo or you didn't have a font to begin with. Right. So for most people, create a way, because you're not creating anything that you're going to try to legally stop someone else from doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes really good sense. Okay, and so can I create like an ebook in Canva and sell that to my audience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And so
all you have to do is make sure, again, wherever you got your ingredients from, your images, your fonts, that's about it. Maybe some design elements.
Yeah, like patterns or graphics.
Right. As long as you know the rules for where the ingredient came from and you're following those, Canva's rules are stay under 2,000 copies and the one-time use is fine. That includes print, that includes digital. If you go over 2,000, you need to upgrade to the multi-use license. That will cover you up to 250,000 copies. Go over 250,000, you need the extended license.
So
Canva is more a quantity versus the design part.
Okay. And so I've seen before the way that you can access the multi-use. Usually when you buy something with an image, it'll say this was $1. If you want to use it in this way, this is where you can purchase the multi-use. You can also contact them in terms of being safe. In terms of the ingredients, then what would keep you safe is if you checked Canva's terms and conditions, Creative Market's terms and conditions, also the place where you got the pattern or the graphic or the little blurb for your button, all those to see what those people's terms and conditions are in terms of you using that in the ebook.
Yes.
But I'm thinking most of them will say that it's fine for, what were you saying before, like everyday use and stuff? But if you're going to use this ebook and become a bestseller on Amazon, that's when things get a little more complicated.
Yeah, you're going to want the extended use license at that point. And again, all these companies, they're in the business of design. They want to help us design things that sell, because if their designs are helping us sell, we're going to use it more people are going to use it. You just have, and they have to protect their stuff just like you would want to protect yours, where it's like, you know what, you can use this and we want you to use it, but at the end of the day, my son goes home with his trucks, his friends go home with their trucks, and then they can come back and play the next day. So it's why I only stick to two things. I get my images from Adobe and I do everything in Canva. Are there tons of other places that I could go and find, fonts and all? Yes. But I'm a lawyer. I don't like reading terms and conditions.
No.
And so I stick with two, because it's like, I know the rules for Adobe. I know the rules for Canva.
Yes.
If all I have to know are those two and how they fit together, then I'm okay.
That's a good tip. Keep everything that you buy. So if you maybe always get your ingredients at Creative Market and always save those. So if you're buying from different designers underneath Creative Market, it's easy to backtrack.
Yes.
There were to be an issue.
Yes.
So that's really good advice.
And it's one where there's, as I tell people, like, oh, but there's this thing over there. Okay, there is, but you have to be willing to sit down and read the terms and conditions. And me, I can read through them, I'm sure, far quicker, because I've been trained. It's what I do. It could still take me, and as I was working on Canvas this morning, before we talked, it took me, let's see what time. it was probably 3 hours for me to go through the one-time use, the multi-use, the extended use, fonts, logo, like really making sure that I was hooking everything up. So when you see something and you're like, oh, I want to use that, okay, you don't get to buy it until you've read the terms and conditions. So that really is a way that most of my clients will find 2 or 3 places they love and they stick with them because they either have to pay me to read the terms and conditions, way pricier than the amount they're going to pay for that product, or they have to read it, or they know they're going to get, they could get in trouble, which is never good. Because like I said, every business decision has legal impact. So just be smart. Just don't get your ingredients from 20 different places, because it just takes one messed up ingredient to spoil the whole batch.
And I think also a lot of the time there's a lot of great freebies out there, but the freebies I feel come with more fine detail that we need to look at.
Oh, I hate freebies.
Because they're like, you can use these stock images, you can use this great, beautiful font, and a lot of people are on design budgets, but they come with more fine print. So
much fine print.
Where I feel like if you buy something, you're a tad more safer because they're already expecting you to use it in your products and your designs. So that's something to be careful of. And then another question I have is, I've been using my Clever with Canva hashtag everywhere. In my images, I know that you've touched on hashtags before. Can we do that? Can we have like a personal hashtag and put that on our images? What are things that we need to be careful for?
Yeah, there's 2 ways you can use hashtags, and you have to think of the hashtags as having 2 ingredients. The hashtag, which is the functional part, allows people to find it. That's the function. And then what comes after it. So if I, am doing, hashtag Clever with Canva, you aren't going to be able to legally protect what comes after the hashtag, after the symbol. One, because you've got a trademarked property in that name. You can't legally stop someone from doing that. But you can totally use it from a practical standpoint, but so could anybody else. Like anybody else I could put Clever with Canva on my stuff.
Right.
The difference is when you've created a product like you did and you were super smart, we talked beforehand, you contacted Canva and said, hey, can I call my course this because it's going to have your name in it? And they said, yes, that's totally fine. So let's say I'm a competitor and I start to do Clever with Canva. Well, you obviously don't want me to have a course called Clever with Canva and using your hashtag, but you can't legally protect it because it has someone else's brand in it.
Right.
So just like with everything, there's so many. This is why I love the law, and it's why it drives everyone. That's like this crazy.
You love it because it really hurts my head.
Yeah, it's like this crazy spider web.
Oh.
If you're going to use hashtag brand identifier, know that you may or may not be able to protect what comes after the hashtag. I could stop a competitor from using Bizzlebox, but I couldn't. But that's only if they were using it as part of like building their business around it. If they're just using it, heck, use it. You're helping me share my company. Right. So yes, you can put it on your images. Just know you may or may not be able to stop certain people from using it. And that's when just talk to a lawyer. Like, don't get,
So So it's when, okay, so Clever with Canva is great because it gets me to help my tribe find posts on it, share their images and designs. Where it's tricky is if someone was misusing it and maybe taking or sharing stuff I wouldn't want them to be sharing with my, or associating with my hashtag.
Right.
And then that's not really something I could do about.
Right. Your resources on what you would be able to do would be different because within that hashtag, again, you have your toy, Clever With, and you have their toy, Canva. So it's different than if you just had yours in there. Clever With.
Oh, like Nicolette Styles. That one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Something totally, so that's a little bit different because you've combined, you have two different pieces and you don't own the rights to this one. But most people, when they're using the hashtag, it's from the social sharing practical aspect. If the hashtag you're using starts to turn itself into the brand, then you need to talk to an attorney that does trademark law and find out what do you need to do, what can you do to protect what comes after the hashtag, because that's the brand identifier.
Okay.
They're two separate pieces: hashtag and then what comes after it. You more than likely, once the part that comes after the hashtag, once that turns into a brand and it's something you're building your business around, that you seriously need to know, do you need to protect it or not?
Okay. Thank you so much. That's been so helpful.
You are so welcome.
Anyone has any more questions, should they leave it in the comments below? Is there a different place that's better for you that they reach out to you if they have like a design in Canva legal question?
The best way is I'm at Tamsin Horton everywhere on social media.
Okay.
So leave a post on my Facebook page, direct message me on Twitter. Those are the easiest ways. I always reply quickly to those, and that way you can get your answer.
Okay, and then Tamsin is also going to create a masterclass training for the Clever with Canva course. And then she's also going to have like a mind map, whereas if you have any questions, it's easy for you to go find your question and see her detailed answer about what you need to do, more information, things that you need to be aware of. So if that's something that's going to be really handy for you, then definitely check out Clever with Canva and for updates on when the next launch is going to be. And if you want to learn more about Tamsin and working with Tamsin and having some legal advice in your business, Tamsin will tell you where you can go get hold of her.
Yep, just go to bit.ly/Tamsin Horton and you will land on my site, and you can figure out anywhere you want to go from there.
Awesome. And so I am one of Tamsin's, I have BizLayBox, which is really cool. So I think it's something that we don't always think about because we get so involved with all the other aspects of running a business. And the most important thing, legal, it's admin. I'll get to it. And it's so important. And what I love is how you make it easy because it can be a monster, to figure out, and am I doing this right? What if I have it, but I don't really know how to word it? Can I just copy and paste whatever someone else has done? So all those things you lay out really nicely in BizLayBox. So I'm going to include a link for people to learn more about BizLayBox.
Oh, cool.
And thank you so much for your time today. That was really fun chatting. I'm checking my notes to see if there's anything else, but I think we covered the most important things. So thanks, Tamsin. That was really helpful.
You are so welcome.
And if you guys have any questions, you know where to reach Tamsin, and you can also leave a question for me in the comment section right below. Thank you, guys. Bye.